everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Table Talk Sessions, the True Crime Chronicles. Table Talk Sessions is about having authentic conversations, so I hope that by sharing some of these crimes or cases, that it will generate not only conversations, but shed some awareness so that we might be more cognizant to the relationships and friendships that we entertain, and of course, watching for those red flags. Today, we'll explore the shocking case of Jason Chen. Jason Chen and Jasmine Pace, a dating couple, lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but their story took a tragic and horrifying turn in November of 2022. Jasmine, a bright and ambitious 22-year-old college student, disappeared after visiting Jason's apartment. Days later, her body was discovered in a suitcase abandoned in a wooded area. This case shocked her community, Jasmine's community, and family, not only for its brutality, but also for the layers of deception and control that would come to light during the investigation. So, we'll examine the timeline of events, the evidence that was stacked against Jason, and then also review lessons that we might can learn to prevent such tragedies from reoccurring. I do want to take a moment just to pay homage to the victim, and her name is Jasmine Pace. She was demised at an early age. She was 22 years old, was attending college, and had a bright future ahead. According to the report, she had attended Red Bank High School and Chattanooga State Tech College. She enjoyed animals. She enjoyed spending time with her family, her friends. And I also have posted on the screen a picture of the missing posting when her parents were very concerned about her whereabouts. So, this is in honor of Jasmine Pace, and tragically, her life was cut short. Here are a few red flags that were mentioned as it relates to Jasmine and Jason's dating. Friends had noticed Jason had controlling behaviors with Jasmine. Jasmine also had confided in close friends about arguments that made her feel uneasy. Then, lastly, Jason had a history of jealousy and erratic behavior. Now, I want you to remember that once we get to the point of the verdict, of thinking about how the mom was depicting him when pleading with the judge at sentencing. Next, we're going to go right into the details from the affidavit to the timeline to what evidence was stacked against Jason, all the things. So here we go. So early in 2022, Jasmine Pace and Jason Chen met on a dating app. Let's pause for a second to talk about that potential red flag that could be there. If you are using a dating app to meet someone, please just ensure that you are privy to something that I've spoken to on the previous episode, which is a representative. When you meet someone and you begin dating, more than likely they're going to present their best selves to you at least for the first year that you're dating them. Give enough space for the person to not have their mask on, to not have their representative showing. And if you're seeing red flags at the onset, in the middle, within that time frame, don't ignore it. Be careful out here on these social media streets. So, Jasmine Pace and Jason Chen met on a dating app. Now, the two of them were both college students at the time at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and they began dating. On Tuesday, November the 22nd, this is prior to Thanksgiving, phone records showed that Jasmine spoke with Jason on the phone for 1 hour and 11 minutes. After that call, Jasmine went to Jason's apartment, and he lived in Chattanooga. It was said near the North Shore. Now, later in the evening on that Tuesday, says Jasmine texted her mom, her name is Katrina, to tell her that she would be staying at the house of a friend of hers for the rest of the week. Now, I don't know that she truly wanted to say that she was going to stay at her friend's house for the rest of the week, if that was already the in the workings of Jason already working on her demise. But Katrina, who's Jasmine's mom, testified in court and said it was odd given that it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So when she gets this message from her daughter, She's like, she's not coming to Thanksgiving. That's weird. So mom's flat red flags are going off in her mind, like, man, that's wild, you know. And not to say that you can't go spend a day with your significant other, but it almost seemed like they hadn't been dating long enough for it to be like that serious where you go and spend like a holiday, I think, in her mom's mind. At 11:27 on that Tuesday, Katrina says that it was the last time that she saw her daughter near the street where the signal was going off. So not necessarily that she physically saw her, but she was able to see her daughter's location. They shared locations via the My Chevy app, and of course we have iPhones as well. But that was the last time she saw like movement, essentially, that she knew was like Jasmine's. Now, on Wednesday, November the 23rd at 2:18 a.m., it said Katrina gets a text from Jasmine's phone that pings her location. Now, Katrina later said that the text went unnoticed for like some time. Of course, it's like 2:18 in the morning. You know, her mom was probably like in and out of sleep. She noticed it, but didn't really look and see what the text was sharing. So then on Saturday, which is November the 26th, on Jasmine's Facebook page, there was a post that was on her, like her page, that said, Thanksgiving with my baby. And the photo was a picture of Jasmine, but it was like a picture that she would not have posted. And so her mom began reaching out of concern because it was out of character. Now, the next part of suspicion came when, now we're still talking about this Saturday. Okay. So Thanksgiving is past, and, you know, they really haven't talked to Jasmine since really the 22nd. And today is the 26th. Okay. So several of Jasmine's friends and family start to get messages from Jasmine, and the messages say, hey, I need some time alone. So this also breeds red flag. Like, this is not like her. So later in court, Katrina Pace, which is her mom, testified that she used the My Chevy app to track Jasmine's phone that night. So mama is like, nah, red flag, red flag, red flag. Something is up. So she uses the My Chevy app to track her to find out where she is. So at 8:27, Katrina later basically said in court, but this is around this time at 8:27, she says that she finds her daughter's car, but it's abandoned and it's near a Signal View condominium area off of Mountain Creek Road. So Katrina was testifying that she noticed when like they went to the car that the seat had been adjusted for someone taller than Jasmine. I mean, she was, and it says she was 5'2". So, you know, typically if you're a taller person, you're pushed farther away from the steering wheel. When you're shorter, you're typically closer to it. And the mom was like, nah, that ain't how she sits. So she figured somebody else had been driving her car. So Katrina, Lisa Katrina, her mom calling 911. Meanwhile, though, the next day on November the 27th, which is now Sunday, right? Remember, mom has not talked to her audibly, right, on the phone since that Tuesday. And I believe that Tuesday, when mom got that message about her spending the week with a friend, I think that was Jason too. I don't even think that that really was Jasmine. So that Sunday, the Chattanooga police investigators, they meet Katrina in person. So they meet in person with Katrina and I'm sure her husband, and it's the first time where they are seeing each other like in person, not on the phone, but they arrive at the house. So Katrina tells the police officers that over the weekend that she and her husband went to the 110 Tremont Street to speak with residents at the time where they discovered that Jason Chen, her boyfriend, Jasmine's boyfriend, was living in an apartment there. So they go on their own accord. No police. They're like, I'm going to go check on my daughter because they had the pin location, but it's just like the pin showed that she was at this apartment complex, but not necessarily what what the the apartment number was. So they still had to ask neighbors to get exactly where the apartment that Jason lived in. So the affidavit says that Katrina and her husband entered into Jason Chen's apartment again without any permission. They're like, nope, nope, nope. We're going to check on our daughter. So when they enter into the apartment, they find the driver's license that belonged to Jasmine, and they find several credit cards. So they knew that they were in the right apartment because it was evidence that Jasmine had been there. And so they see her things, on the table, on the counter, but they don't have a sign of Jason being at home or Jasmine. And that may have been a good thing, because imagine Jason being home or et cetera, and what that could have led to with the parents. Because I mean, put in the chat, do you believe that the parents went unarmed, or do you think they went with a concealed weapon? I mean, you tell me. I'm just saying, not that we're advocating for violence, but I mean, imagine. The affidavit also says that Katrina told the police officers that a neighbor told her that they had heard a loud disturbance around 2 a.m. on November the 22nd. So, this also alludes as to why I don't really believe that the text message that the mom received about Thanksgiving, that I don't think that really came from Jasmine. I really think Jason had her phone chip the SIM cards then and was sending it on her behalf, because he had already put her into dismissal mode. Like, he had already hurt her. Now, the Chattanooga police requested a warrant to search Chen's apartment. So again, they're not at the apartment telling this story to the police. They are at their home telling the police what they uncovered when they went to the house. So the police, of course, now have to go and file a request for an actual warrant, and the judge granted the warrant. So the affidavit shares that the police, when they went to the apartment, to Jason's apartment, they found blood on the living room hardwood floor, blood on the bathroom and the grout, blood in the bedroom's carpet, and then there was blood splatter on the bathroom wall. Now, if you watch the trial, if you look at the YouTube video, there are screenshot images that the state displayed that shows, like, you can pull up carpet. Like, someone may think that they've cleaned a liquid that might have spilled, but if you lift the carpet to where the back end is, you can still see the residue. So when they showed the lifted carpet, you could clearly see blood. And so that's just an example of the evidence that was amounting after they were searching his apartment. They also found several cleaning supplies that had been recently purchased. And they also noted there was broken glass that hadn't been cleaned up yet, but it demonstrated evidence that suggested that a violent altercation had occurred. So they have the testimony of Katrina, Jasmine's mom, saying the neighbor said that there was a loud noise of disturbance. And now they see broken glass, which correlates that there was a disturbance because the glass was there on the ground. So now we're at Monday. Remember, audibly, they had not heard from Jasmine since Tuesday, the 22nd. It is now Monday, November 28th. So the Chattanooga police obtained video footage from inside the apartment complex because they have proof that Jasmine was there, right? And so they go to get the surveillance footage, and the footage showed Chen leaving the building with the mask on, black fabric wrapped around his hand. And then also, you'll see in the video that I will play in a few moments, he's wheeling a suitcase. So the evidence continues to just stack and stack and stack. Now, 2 days later, on Wednesday, November 30th, the Hamilton County District Attorney and the Chief of Police, he announces that officers had then arrested Jason Chen at his family's home on criminal homicide charges. The Chief of Police also said that the arrest came after the search warrant of Chen's apartment, because they had found enough evidence to actually charge him. Now, the arrest affidavit says that Chen had lacerations on his right hand that indicated that he had been in some kind of physical fight. So that loud disturbance that the neighbors mentioned, the blood and all of the evidence at the scene, the broken glass, and he has lacerations on his hand, proves that he had been in some type of scuffle or fight of violence. So Chin was taken to jail first in Franklin, Tennessee, and then he also was returned to Hamilton County, and he was put behind bars without bond. Now, on December the 1st, so mind you, this is from Tuesday, the 22nd of November, and now we're at December 1st. Jasmine's stepfather confirmed that they had found Jasmine's body and it was located near a river, a Tennessee river. And then a few hours later, the Chattanooga police confirmed that human remains had been found, that they had been stuffed inside of a suitcase and dumped off the side of Suck Creek Road just outside of Chattanooga, and that it indeed was the body of Jasmine Pace. Now, on December the 5th, there was a candle vigil that was held for Jasmine Pace, and essentially, what we'll do now is I'm gonna play the video so that you can see the evidence on the video surveillance of what they saw when Chen was leaving the apartment.
In court revealed a timeline. Around 5:59 p.m., Chen is seen dragging a suitcase and then his car driving away moments later. Then at 7 p.m., Chen is seen at Walgreens buying paper towels. At 8:30 p.m., a vehicle that looks like Pace's is seen leaving the apartment complex. The investigator pointed out it appears to be driven by a person in a light-colored hoodie. At 8:41 p.m., a vehicle similar to Pace's is seen driving into the Signal View condos. That's where Pace's family later found her vehicle. Then at 9:01 p.m., a vehicle can be seen dropping a person in a light hoodie off at Chen's apartment. Crawford testified he believes that driver worked for Lyft. CPD executed a search warrant at Chen's apartment and found multiple blood stains inside. They also showed this picture of a pair of pants that appeared to have a large blood stain outside a dumpster at Chen's apartment and white shoes.
This is a photograph from the interior of the dumpster area, just inside the gated area.
And what can you see on the ground there?
You can see the discarded clothing, the pair of shoes I was describing, a sanitary pad, and there's also a pair of what appears to be women's underwear.
This picture shows Jason Chen wearing similar white shoes to those shown by the dumpster.
Okay, so after watching that video, I hope you can tell or see how this evidence was just stacked against him. Essentially, the details also of Jasmine Pace's passing are both violent and chilling. Like it was just crazy. She suffered, it says 60 stab wounds, and it indicated that the level of brutality that she received at his hands that were involved in this crime was just like them trying to figure out what in the world aggravated him to the point that she deserved that type of demise. 60 stab wounds, okay? Now, Jason also, as you saw, he attempted to cover up his actions by placing Jasmine's body in a suitcase and abandoning it in a remote area. He was likely hoping that it would be unfound, undiscovered, but clearly with the picture evidence that you see here from News Channel 9, it was not the best location. Investigators also quickly connected the crime to Jason through the critical forensic evidence. There was the blood stains that matched Jasmine's DNA, and they were found in Jason's apartment and car. Additionally, there were receipts and surveillance footage, which of course showed Jason purchasing items that were used in the crime, such as the cleaning supplies. And then perhaps the most like craziest part was that the police uncovered handwritten notes in Jason's possession detailing aspects of the crime, solidifying their case against him. And if you watch the court trials, you can see like he was marking through, he literally had written cards, and it was almost like he was thinking through how he was going to get away or out of this, but he clearly had not thought this through. Now, as the case unfolded, again, the questions that came were, what was his motive? Like, what in the world was the driving factor that would cause him to do this crime? Was it a crime of passion? Was it triggered from an argument or jealousy? Or was it premeditated? Was it planned with, when you're looking at how this occurred, what in the world went through his mind to think that this was a good decision? And Where are we? Well, we just don't walk away. Like if we are not happy and we, got to the point in a relationship, before you go and off somebody, walk away, walk away, walk away. Seriously, I'm not laughing at this. I'm just like, man, it's baffling. Some speculate that Jason's controlling and possessive tendencies may have escalated to the point of violence. And that is why we are bringing attention to potential red flags. And also, like, I'm wondering, did mom notice something because she reacted like, no, I need to go find my daughter? Something's up. So, examining similar cases, what psychologists believe is that it's tied more so probably to jealousy, fear of abandonment, or even an inability to handle rejection as possible triggers for this level of violence. Okay. And then, especially when we're speaking of relational dynamics, when we talk about most times, crimes of passion and so forth. Now, you will see here that this is depicting the location of where the suitcase and her remains were found, and she was handcuffed and shackled, like in this suitcase. She was handcuffed and shackled. So I'm gonna just say it's just crazy. Chen faced multiple serious charges, including first degree murder and evidence tampering. First degree murder requires proof of intent, and prosecutors highlighted the premeditated nature of the crime. Evidence tampering charges stem from Jason's attempt to clean the crime scene and also his striving to dispose of Jasmine's body. Now, Jason was on trial and was convicted January the 21st, 2025, for the murder of his girlfriend, Jasmine Pace. Her body again was found handcuffed and fatally stabbed inside of a suitcase. He stabbed her about 60 times. Just crazy, just wild. Now, during the sentencing, Jason's mom and dad had the opportunity to speak on Jason's behalf prior to sentencing, right? And when they're doing this, they're striving to show the good side of Jason, his character, to see if the judge will be lenient in his sentencing. Now, the father of Jason, he actually gave condolences and remorse to the family, to Jasmine's family. He said, "We understand your hurt and we are sorry for your loss," which was nice to hear. However, the mom, so Jason's mom gets to give her remarks, and the defense is trying to coach them. Mind you, because again, this is, trying to get as best of a sentence or a lesson sentence on his client's behalf, right? The defense is trying to defend for Jason. Now, they were speaking via an interpreter, but they also were repeating the question to make sure they understood what we're asking you of you. But they just did not. The mom did not read between. She didn't read the room. She didn't read the room. She didn't read between the lines that the defense attorney was trying to give her, to explain what she should have said, rather, right? So when they asked her for the remarks, right? They asked, do you have anything you want to say to Jasmine's family? The mom responds, "He is not a bad person. I pray and plead to the judge and the jury to give him a chance to go home and restart his life." Now, the defense asks again, they're like, "Is there anything that you would like to share with Jasmine's family?" And the mom responds, "He is a good child. He knows right from wrong. He has made mistakes, and we wish he could have a chance to change and improve in prison." Okay. The defense asks one more time, "Ma'am, is there anything that you would like to say to Jasmine's family?" And she says, "I know he made a big mistake, but she is asking for life with parole." She says he is still young, hopes he has a chance to have a life. And Jason, he decided not to testify. Or the other part I wanted to pull out is the mom also was alluding that he was going to help take care of her financially, right? So that's like a cultural thing too. But Jason decided to not testify before his sentencing. So we saw in Melody Ferris's case, she did speak at her sentencing, but she didn't take the stand. But what she said was wow. And that's in episode 2 if you want to go hear her sentencing remarks. It's at the end of that recording. But for Jason, Jason's like, no, I don't have nothing to say. The jury then they get to go back and they get to deliberate. Now they deliberated for less than an hour. Literally, it was marked 44 minutes. That's how long it took them to come up with their verdict. And ultimately, the jury unanimously found Jason Chen guilty, and the judge sentenced Jason to life without the possibility of parole. So, the point that the mom was pleading for, please at least allow parole so he has a possibility of getting out. Judge was like, nope, 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 nope. Now, facts about Jason is that he was actually majoring in computer science at the time of his arrest. And for his family, he was the first generation Chinese American immigrant. So, him going to school, them migrating to America was going to give like the family, like a good future and all the things, right? And he just made a really terrible decision. Now, family and friends and people from the community gathered together on December 5th at Coolidge Park for Jasmine. And I do want to give a shout out to Katrina Pace, which is Jasmine's mom, similar to what I did during the Chris Watts case, which is episode 1. Shanann's friend Nicole knew something was wrong with her friend, and similar to Jasmine, her mom Katrina knew something was off. And the fact that she didn't have a warrant, the dad didn't have a warrant to go into Jason's apartment, but they knew where her location was. They hadn't talked to her, heard her audibly. They went over there and busted up in that apartment. They meant business, and I'm pretty sure they probably had a concealed weapon. I wouldn't be shocked if the parents had a concealed weapon when they went that night. And I say all that to say not to condone weapons and such or violence, but I'm saying that to say that it's important to have people around you that know you. And sometimes we get into predicaments or situations where we do not take heed to red flags, or maybe we're not privy to the red flags that we should have seen. And mom heard, saw, and just said, something's wrong. That's not like my baby. And she went about seeing what she could do to find her daughter. So shout out to you, Katrina, and sending condolences to your family. Now, if you made it this far, thank you so much for following along as I've shared this tragic story. I do want to end off with one question for this episode. What are some ways to identify and address red flags in relationships before they escalate? One idea is thinking about how to personally recognize controlling and manipulative behaviors that may be occurring. And it doesn't have to necessarily just be in a relationship, it could be a friendship as well. And also thinking about if you have a family member or a close friend and they feel and it comes across as if they're suspicious of the person that you're talking to or the person that you're friends with, you might want to consider, what they're saying. Sometimes we get so invested, so engrossed, so enamored, right? We can be so in lust of someone that we miss the red flags. So if you have a good person in your corner that loves you, means you no harm, don't think it's necessarily jealousy right off, or they hating on me, or they're jealous of what I got. No, think about what they're saying, listen to what they're saying, especially if they're sharing a concern. And then, of course, seeking help and support early on. Don't necessarily wait until the behaviors or threats or reactions are so escalated that you are in a position that you cannot get out of. Okay. And it could be one of those one-offs, right? We can't control that. But what you can control, let's do our best to do that. Thanks for joining me. Please comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what it is that stuck out to you about this episode, this case, and let me know if you enjoyed this particular episode. What did you take away from it? Also, look out for the next episode. Until next time, take care.